Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt. This is Hidden Light, and today we're doing another old news. It's been a while. So there's finally been like enough time passing in the analog photography world for there to have been some sort of news to accumulate. So pull up your favorite beverage. It might be coffee. Check out my matching logos. Sweet new hats, just dropped them. And let's talk about things on the news. First up, from the end of April, on Petapixel, a photographer exposing both sides of film. This is cool. I've done this on accident and never on purpose. If you load a sheet of film backwards and shoot it, some very strange things happen. Or a roll of film, I guess, if you really like want to hate yourself. 120 backwards is a real pain in the ass to do. 220 is much more possible. Sheet film's kind of the way to do this, unless you have a camera that will let you load your 35 backwards and not like totally flip out. Super cool though, super fun. A photographer on TikTok, which I can't believe that the world has gotten to that point that that's what happens now, has exposed both sides of a roll of 35 to create unusual and stunning effects. You know what? He's just... yeah, this is cool. A Ricoh KR5. See, doing the wrong side, that seems like you'd have to like bulk roll it in like a used canister or something to get it to behave. I don't know how I would do that. But these are kind of cool. I'm into stuff like this, the experimental, the strange, the weird, the cursed. Highly recommend all of the above. I thought this was kind of neat. Also, sweet finger tats. Dude. Dudette. Human. I don't know. Fun things. And we're going all the way back to April. Much more recently than April, our buddy Ribsy, whose channel I am subscribed to and you also should be subscribed to, got to go visit the ILFORD factory in the UK. This is following up and because the other guy with the other video channel went to go visit Kodak. His was supposed to be released as like a 3-part series. I've only ever seen part 1 of that, which is cool. But this ILFORD thing, he basically takes his whole tour and like slams it into 20 minutes or 19 minutes. But kind of shows you all of the daylight sections of what's happening at ILFORD. And all the equipment and shenanigans that goes into it. It's super cool. You get to meet all the people. They did not stop the machines and take everyone into the machines, which, because God only knows how expensive that would be. But it was cool. You know, since ILFORD's like the only manufacturer that can actually keep up these days, it's cool to see what's actually going on in their facilities and checking out what's going on there. I thought it was pretty nifty, worth 20 minutes of your life. Just like everything Ribsy does is, honestly. The dude's just crushing it, so go hang out with him. I enjoy it. This is an interesting one. So one of the things that one of the services, I guess you could say, that we offer here is photo restoration and artwork duplication. So you can bring your old-timey photograph into me, and then we will scan it using the Sony and then fix everything that's wrong with it, and then we can make new prints. Usually just inkjets because it's easier, but we can do silver gelatins or platinums too from your old-timey photos. It's great. Or from your artwork that, you know, like you painted on a canvas and you want to be able to do giclée prints. We can do that. I end up doing a lot of like super extra terrible, really ruined photos from like the early 1900s. And it takes a lot of time and suffering to retouch those and make them look like they're supposed to look. And Photoshop, I guess in beta, is coming out, or there's going to be a new beta neural filter. So check this out. It's going to be a neural filter. It's called Photo Restoration, and it will take your old-timey trashed photos and make them less trashed. It will also colorize them for you if you'd like that to be a thing. Of course, once it colorizes it, you can just put a black and white layer on it and make it normal again. But look at that. Are you kidding me? That's just before. after. Oh, that's just crazy talk. I have used the neural filter that just colorizes black and white photos, and it actually works quite well. But this is a whole new level. For me to be able to just like plug in an image, tell Photoshop to fix it, and then come in and do a little bit extra cleanup that Photoshop misses, that's really cool. I updated my Photoshop this morning. It's the middle of June. And I went looking for these neural filters and did not see them. So my guess is this is going to be in a future Photoshop update. Of course, now that it's Photoshop in the cloud, they update it kind of whenever they feel like, all the time. Don't know when it's coming, but I'm stoked on it. I can't even. Even does a content-aware fill that does a job. You know, like you can see it's kind of trying to pull this plaid texture over here, but not really doing a very good job. I don't know, better than nothing. It's a good starting point, I would say. So that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to be able to play with this. Come on. Too cool. Long form content. If you're feeling kind of podcasty, back at the beginning of April, Jason Roman, who I met at the what was that called? The Darkroom and Beers and Cameras, Joshua Tree Shenanigans. I met this dude out there. She shoots Leica. He's a badass. He did a interview conversation with B&H on their channel. It's about an hour long, and they kind of get into the why more than necessarily the how for the way that Jason shoots. He's on Instagram at Stockezy. His work is awesome, and he gets the opportunity to shoot some really cool stuff. And their conversation, like the second half of it, I would say, they just start rolling through a bunch of images that Jason has shot over his sort of career. And all on Leica, of course. Super cool stuff. I played this while I was doing photo retouching the other day in the morning. You know, came in super early. Sometimes you get motivated. You just need like that background, like podcasty, whatever. So I put this on one monitor. I put my retouching on another monitor and just like hang. Super cool. Highly recommend giving this one. Links to all of these things will be down in the link place where links go, i.e. the description. Coffee's delicious. So yeah, check him out. And if you're not, I was going to say subscribed, but he does actually have a YouTube channel. So we'll link that also to Jason's YouTube channel. But follow him on Instagram because that's really where he spends most of his time. That's a cool one. Okay, here's one. I saw a article, story, I don't know what to call it, on Petapixel about how nobody knows how to use Flash anymore. And it kind of brought me back to the early aughts, the mid-aughts, when I was learning how to use off-camera Flash for the first time. And I just wanted to stop and remind all you people, or tell those of you who haven't experienced it yet, about this thing called Strobist. Strobist is done by David Hobby, and he spent like over a decade creating this comprehensive guide on how to use off-camera flashes for your cameras. And he did this whole like lighting 101 introduction, understanding your flashes, how they work. It's crazy. So you just go to his free Blogspot website, which I used to have one of also, of course. Blogspot's super cool. And just do yourself a favor. If you haven't ever done any off-camera flash work, go check out strobist.com. If you've done it and you are bored with your photography and you need something different to do, go check out strobist.com. If you did it already and you need some inspo or whatever, just go check it out again. It's like, just even like click through like Lighting 101 and just get inspired because his work is so good and it takes so little gear to pull this off. Super cool. Highly recommend. Just, if you never did it, go do it. It's fun. Okay, so we like to do cursed things to film around here. You know, we've done Caffeinol, we did the beer Renol, the beer version of Caffeinol. This guy is doing it with energy drinks, which is, one, messy, but two, he does such a hilarious job of putting this together, and the way that he films it is so funny. I can't get over this. Believe it or not, you can develop film with some energy drink mixes. It kind of works, sort of. Caffeinol in general, like alternative developers, are a lot less like stable's not the right word, reliable, you know, than you'd like them to be. And like, look at this. I can't even with this. Anyway, he does a great job, and Petapixel go ahead and, you know, they cut to the results from his images, which, wow, like, I don't even know how to describe this, but it's pretty cool. So, if you need gooey film in your life, or you need an excuse to go buy a bunch of energy drink powders and then ruin a bunch of film, this is for you. Check it out. I don't know, it was funny. He does a great job putting that video together. And you know what you do when you find a video that you like? Subscribe. Just putting that out there. Okay, last but certainly not least, for the news, Zone Imaging's 510 Pyro is cool. I'm not usually the kind of guy that is into the alt developer stuff. I'm usually like, just pick one developer and stick with it and quit testing and start shooting. Like, just develop the damn film and make it look good. But like Diafine and 510 Pyro are both developers worth experimenting with, because the results are truly next level. It's a whole new thing. This is crazy. First thing, you're developing it 100 to 1, so a $35 bottle of developer will last you a long time. You buy it in 100 milliliter bottles as the concentrate, and then you dilute it from there. I'm working on getting a batch brought in that we will then carry and be able to resell. I believe there are a couple other places in the US that have it. I'm really excited to play with this. This is going to be crazy, especially once I start doing 8x10 with it. But I think like a T-Max, or not T-Max, yeah, P3200 with a developer like this, or Diafine, where it really chills out the massive amount of grain. You get high speed without psycho grain. Don't get me wrong, I like grain, but sometimes you just want something a little smoother. And this could be that. So I'm gonna get some brought in. We'll have it for sale whenever it arrives from the UK, which is where I believe it's manufactured. I don't know what it is about England and them being able to put together like really cool black and white everything, but I want some. I want it. Anyway, that is the end of the news, and here is what happens next, whatever that is. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are on the road again. Kristen is driving. Moose is sleeping, as he does best. And we are cruising for our summer vacation to Amish country, Indiana. Which may sound a little strange, but we actually go every year to a small lake in northern Indiana, where my family has a teeny tiny little cottage. This year we've chosen to drive and bring the dog, and more importantly, or possibly equally as important, bring the 8x10. It's flying with that kit, along with clothes. I have to choose one. So, and flying with sheet film I think is really extra, particularly painful right now. So we're driving. It's a quick 27 hours from Flagstaff. to northern Indiana. The sun is just rising, and we're going to do this as a road trip vlog that will then segue, hopefully, very peacefully and beautifully into shooting some 8x10 in the humidity of Indiana on a lake. So let the road trip montage begin.
Drove through a whole bunch of rain. Oh, Kristen drove through a whole bunch of rain. And we're almost to Texas already. How? Golly. Golly gracious. Almost to Texas. And kind of try and outrun some of this wind because it's windy, rainy, fun. It's just good old-fashioned fun. You know what's great? Driving in Texas. It's just, honestly, it's gorgeous and warm and humid. I'm into it. It's a gorgeous day to be on a road trip. Of course, you can't really stop to take pictures, which is fine, you know. Just take it from the car. I'm testing out a little 35mm camera, a little rangefinder, which is great. Just snapping photos out the window without a care in the world. Just crushing miles today. It's great. Also, this thing is huge. Everything's bigger in Texas. I can get the whole windshield. Oh yeah. Okay. Ready for another 500 miles.
Gas station hats.
Gas station hats. I think we look great. When in Texas. It's either this or the big white one. I don't know if I could fit in this car with the big white one.
But we're in Oklahoma.
Oh shit, we're in Oklahoma now. Yeah, we're in Oklahoma now. Okay. Yay, Oklahoma.
$6 a.m. Starbucks stop. We never do this. The question. Why? Why are you going to Indiana? Yeah, I get it. Get that a lot. Every time we tell people we're going to Indiana, northern Amish country, Indiana, on vacation, they kind of go, on purpose? Yes, on purpose. It's gorgeous. It's humid. It's flat. It's green. All things that Flagstaff is sort of not a lot of the time. Flagstaff's pretty, but it's not humid. It's not particularly green, especially right now. And yeah, the light just hits different out here. You know, we're at 7,000 feet in Flagstaff. Once you get down to sea level, in the humid, everything changes. So I'm excited to take some pictures. Moose is real excited, as you can tell. Yeah. We got another 700 miles to crush today, and then we'll be at the lake. And then tomorrow morning we can wake up, we're at the sun, and go take some pictures. Until then, I've got this cute little thing, which I'm not sure if the rangefinder's not calibrated correctly, because everything I see at infinity reads at 5 feet on the scale, so I don't know whether to trust the rangefinder or not. So we'll find out after a test roll. And yeah, rock and roll. Made it. We actually made it last night, but I couldn't be bothered to do video things, and it was kind of dark and whatever. So this is the lake. This is where I am hanging out. And I'm not going to tell you which lake it is, because people on the internet are weird. Not you, I'm sure, but some people. We've got a big beautiful, bright day going on today. But light hits different down here. So early mornings and late evenings, you get a lot of really good light. And it's sort of more diffuse than I'm used to. And, you know, it's going through all that atmosphere. So what I think I'm going to do now is go kind of see if there's anything that I want to grab with kind of harsh sunlight, which is what we're getting now. Sort of like whatever time it is, 9 o'clock. And so we'll just kind of scope the place out a little bit. I expect I'll shoot an exposure or two. But first I want to go look. I'm not going to carry my 30 pounds of camera gear if I don't know that I'm going to go shoot something, you know? But right now it's Thursday morning and it's super chill. There's something here. Back in there. Problem with shooting black and white is that this looks gorgeous in color. But by the time I get it into black and white, it's just gonna look busy. You gotta have something to focus on. And I'm kind of feeling like an isolationist sort of vibe. Trying to separate one subject from its background. I don't know why I feel like that. It's an ongoing series I've been working on, but there's a rabbit down the road. I don't know, it's a series that I've been working on that just seems to fit with who I am and what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to get across. You know, I've been thinking a little bit more recently about being intentional with what I'm shooting, what I'm trying to say, trying to communicate something specific, and that's a series. Check that out right there. That's pretty good. I can get into that. Oh yes. Problem is the lens I have, the 300, right, is normal on 8x10. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to catch that without going onto somebody's property. Probably not. I have the ability to check, actually, with my phone. I figured like a 1.6, 1.7x zoom on my phone gives me more or less the framing I'm going to get on the 8x10, and that's not going to cut it. It's not close enough. But it's definitely a good idea, and I'll come back for it. Maybe when people are awake and I can ask to be on someone's property. Although these guys aren't here, so maybe I can go on theirs. Who knows? There's another one right there. I could probably pull that one off, actually. Except for the trash can in the corner. That's kind of obnoxious. Just warming up the old photographic eyeballs. Get dialed in without having to carry all the stuff. Works great. Here's another one. Pity that hoop is so modern. Okay, I think I found a warm-up shot. This beautifulness, mottled light in the grass, sweet barn, a little bit of tree trunk, a little boat trailer. We're gonna start with that one because I can do it from the road and get something like decent. Yeah, see what happens. Time to go fetch the gear. Yeah, good to have some stuff. Oh my gracious. You know, the one thing I still haven't figured out for this kit is a good way to hold my film holders, like a little pouch or bag or something, you know?
Haven't quite got there with that. Someday I will. Probably by the end of the year, I figure. Intrepid, avert your eyes from what's about to happen. If you're watching this, not that I expect that Intrepid watches my videos, but you don't want to see this. For those of you who are curious, yes, I use A-clamps to hold a different back onto this camera because the back that Intrepid supplies is difficult, and it doesn't have to be difficult. So this is the back of a Calumet, and I put a bunch of light seal material in there, and I just clamp it on there, and you know what? Works great. We're gonna shoot vertical today, and I can just open the back of this bad boy and slide my film holders in and out super easy. What a concept. All right. Oh dear. That's what I mean. Someday I'll have a big boy tripod with a modern head. I won't have to worry about this entire thing just flopping off the back of the tripod. This tripod is from the 70s. And I'm a moron, and I like to carry my camera set up, ready to rock, rather than carry the bag around with me when I can. That combination leads to moments where it feels like the camera's gonna fall off. That's life. Looking good. I'm gonna do this razor thin depth of field. Let's dive in here. All right. Just tucking some things out of the way here. That's the general idea. A little bit of grass, a little bit of trees, a little bit of trailer, and then this bad boy's right in the center, or damn near center.
And it's crazy sharp. I'm sure you can't see it on the GoPro, but like, woofda. That'll be a lovely one. Wide open's gonna give me soft, razor sharp. So that's what I'm going for. This is what I look like in here. This close to the camera, I have to look at the camera and not the screen. That's you. Okay, I'm about to get run over. Perfect. We're gonna rock this bad boy at a 15th of a second. Call it good. I'm focused, fired up. So, sheet number 1 of the trip. See how easy that was? Just, you fucking slide these things in and out all day. Incredible. Then, very important, close the shutter. You probably can't tell, but open, closed. F6.3. And we're gonna dial this bad boy. 15th of a second. Well, it's a 10th, but it's close enough. Test. See, that's why you test, because sometimes it just won't work no more. Test again. I sent this lens to get it repaired, CLA'd by a professional, and it still behaves like that. All right, wide open, 6.3, pull the dark slide. Just gonna do that, shade the lens a skosh. Right here. Beautiful. Flip the film holder, stick it back in. Now, that's a cool exposure. Do I do another one? Or do I hope that I nailed it? And that nothing went wrong? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna hope that I nailed it and hope that nothing went wrong. And, yeah. Vivian Meyer used to do that, you know? On her rollies, when you only get however many frames per roll, 10, 12 frames a roll, she would always just one exposure per subject in the beginning and just know that she nailed it. So I only brought like a dozen sheets with me, and until I know that I'm not gonna have anything else to photograph, I'm gonna keep them short and sweet. So there's the first exposure of the trip, hanging out in somebody else's lawn with my big dumb camera photographing a barn. There will be more 8x10 exposures on this trip. I think I'm gonna do a separate video of just me wandering around doing all the lake stuff shooting. But yeah, this will probably conclude this section of this video. At least you got to see something, right? Little road trip, little 8x10. Look at that. Not bad. Okay. Back to the studio. That was fun. Whatever it was, I'm sure it was fun. Everything we do is fun. The whole middle section is always fun. It's very fun. Let's talk about some FAQ. Let's fucking talk about some FAQs. Frequently asked questions, or just questions in general, that you post in the comments of these videos, or sometimes occasionally on the Discord. We'll just kind of scroll through them and see what questions you have. So, Christian Klant says, I forgot to mention wet mounting. Okay, you found me out, Christian. I've never done wet mounting. I would love to learn. The version of wet mounting silver gelatin prints that I found involved taking a sheet of aluminum, putting down a layer of adhesive, and then literal wallpaper, and then a layer of adhesive, and then the print. And that felt to me like the stupidest fucking thing on earth, because I'll tell you what, I've seen lots of wallpaper that's coming off of walls. And I don't think I want my silver gelatin print that I just spent hours suffering to make to last as long as some fucking wallpaper. So if you have a good a good way to do that, I would love to learn. Let's talk. Because wet mounting is on the list. I want to get there. Yeah, I'm into that. And it's reversible. So, dude, I'm into it. Yes. Okay. Melanin halide. Reading screen names is freaking hard, guys. Has a question about displaying prints in a frame with no glass because glass is stupid expensive. Okay, so yes, glass is stupid expensive. That's yes. But it's expensive because it protects your prints, right? It's the one thing in a frame you need most. If you are displaying your artwork without glass, you're saying to me, the viewer or purchaser, I don't really care about this. Like, I know glass kind of ruins the experience sometimes. I know it's got a little glare, but it's the thing preventing people from scratching or spilling stuff onto your print. It's the thing preventing UV light, temperature swings, and humidity changes from affecting your print. It's like the thing you need in your picture framing. It's not the frame, it's the glass. You want your image to be at least a 1/4 inch from the glass, and you want it to be good glass. It is a huge hassle. It's a giant pain in the ass, and it's expensive. But as but as Taylor Mahoney often says, if you're not willing to invest in your art, why would anyone else? Now, okay, that's a little sassy, but it's also a little bit true. If you put money into your art and you do it for the love of your art, for the love of your craft, for displaying an image in the best way possible that's as archival as you can make it, then people will see that. They'll take notice of that. If you slap an image into a frame with no glass, no lamination, no way to protect the print, people will see that too. I'm not saying you gotta do it. I'm just saying, think about it. There are other ways to protect prints without having them glazed with glass. You can laminate them, like especially if they're inkjets. You can have giclée like canvas made. Okay, so let's stop for 10 seconds. Inkjet prints are also giclée prints, also called archival pigment prints, or there's called all kinds of dumb shit. When people say giclée, what they're usually thinking about is canvas. If you take a canvas print and varnish it, or even actually a paper print and varnish it, that'll protect it too. So there are ways to do that without making it look terrible. A reasonable like satin or semi-matte laminate for your inkjet prints will do the same thing. We've done lamination on all kinds of projects. It works fine. Don't laminate your platinums or your silvers or your cyanotypes. Like nothing that's handmade should be laminated. That's terrible. But inkjets, hell yeah. Laminate the shit out of those. Works great. Ardent Media says, would love to see your mounting process in a video. We kind of included the mounting process as B-roll in the beginning of that video. But we could do like a more detailed one if you guys think that's interesting. If you want me to do like a how I will mount your print video, tell me in the comments. Also, Ardent Media, congratulations on your new UV exposure unit. That's badass. Says, after watching the whole video about how to make your own digital negatives, he's come to the conclusion the thing to do is to print inkjet. Honestly, sometimes you're right. Sometimes just making an easy print's way better than throwing a bunch of money and time and suffering at making a silver print, especially if your clients don't know the difference. Like, there's a whole process that goes into educating your client about what silver gelatin is and why it's better or different than inkjet or blah, 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 blah. Same thing with platinum, except it's harder with platinum because Ansel Adams didn't do a lot of platinum. Everybody knows frickin' Ansel Adams. Should we do a shirt? Like, fuck Ansel Adams, think for yourself? We like sassy shirts around here, but we never actually get around to making them because I don't think anybody would buy one because they're too sassy. We're pretty sassy. Eric Johnson asks, why do you need to flatten your work before printing? Okay, so getting nerdy here for a second. Put us in the nerd zone. If you don't flatten the file and you only invert, say, the base layer or say one of your curves layers, then your image is not going to look right at all. It's like your curves will be upside down and backwards. So you got to flatten the file so that everything gets compressed into one image. The other way to do that, if you didn't want to flatten it, is you could create a new layer from all the underlying layers. Oh, there's a keyboard shortcut for that on Mac. It's like Shift, Option, Command, E or something. And that creates a new layer from all your underlying layers. You could then flip and flip that layer. But I find it's easier just to flatten the whole damn file. Yeah, otherwise everything's going to turn up terrible and bad. If you want to figure out why, you should try it yourself, because it's fucking hilarious when you do that. I've been there. I've done it. Let's see. David Butler asked, side note, do you print digital negatives as a service? Yes, I do. There's a caveat. The digital negatives, the substrate that we're printing on is like a 130 or 160 GSM. It's pretty lightweight and it's really fragile. So shipping digital negatives can be kind of a pain in the ass. I've done it successfully. What I'll typically do, honestly, is I'll just make you 2 copies of the same negative, charge you for 1, and send them out the door. If you would like digital negatives printed by me, email me and we'll talk about it. The other trick is, aside from the fragility, is I need to know what process you're using and typically which paper you're using, because my profiles for the stuff that we're profiled for is not necessarily the stuff that you're profiled for. And my chemistry mix, say for platinum, may not be the same as what you're using, and that's what I'm profiled for. So we have to kind of go back and forth and make sure we're on the same page about that. But yes, we do that. Totally. Michael Rivera says, how hard was converting your inks over to piezo and chip install? The 9880s are actually really easy to convert. Same thing with a 7880. It's really not that bad. The bigger printers have longer lines, so it takes longer, but aside from that, it's kind of fine. The reason my big piezography printer is suffering right now is I actually have to do a new capping station. I think once I get that figured out, and I might need a new head as well. It just sat for too long and is not cooperating being rehabilitated. But honestly, like the one that I've done already is not a big deal at all. You can just take all the old stuff, flush it out with the new stuff. Don't worry about it. The newer printers, I think, are more difficult because you have to do different things with like the chips, and you have to like override I don't know. Old printers are better and they're cheaper. Regarding Eric Johnson and piezography, he says, are you hydrating the paper? Keith responded to him, and you don't have to do anything fancy when you're doing piezography. You just press print, just like an inkjet. It works great. Man, there's a real party going on upstairs. You guys hear that? It's not even Friday. Shit. Bob Wagner. Hope to get up to Flag from the Valley. Must live in Phoenix. Drop in, workshop someday. Bob, let's do it. Schedule your workshop. Let's do it. I'm stoked. Let's do workshops. I like workshops. Even if your name's not Bob, we can do a workshop. Workshops are fun. Steve asks, does piezography require a special printer? Yeah, it does. You have to take a printer, pull all the stock inks out of it, install all new black and gray inks in new carts that are user refillable, and then from there you can make prints once you've converted the whole printer. It involves actually a fair amount of suffering for the first time you do it, and then every time thereafter it gets a lot easier. And there's like some extra software and stuff you have to use on the computer side to make those prints, because you're basically, the printer doesn't know that it's printing in gray and black. It thinks it's printing in color like it always has. And you're using software to force it to do something different. So, a little bit of suffering, but it works great. This is a good one. JK, is it feasible for you to maybe offer a sample of a picture that is ideal for the respective printing technologies that you offer? I was looking through the website and was surprised that no prints are available for sale. Interesting. I can show on the website the kinds of images that work in each process, and I can show on the website photographs of prints that have been made in each process. But to sell a sample set is interesting. I like that idea. I'll look into that. You know, like buy like a, you know, we'll make a bunch of 5x7s or something of the same image in different, I don't know, something like that. That's what ILFORD does when they do their, actually a lot of companies do that when they do their sample papers, is you buy a paper set and it's got the same image printed on 20 different papers and you can see what it does to each one. That's a great idea. I'll look into that. I'm into it. Bruno is struggling with the platinum palladium chemicals. Please make an in-depth video about your recipes, and your experiences. I could do that. Anybody else want me to like really get nerdy about exactly the amount of drops and tablespoons and whatever that I'm using? Comment. I'm happy to do it. I just feel like if we get too nerdy, most of you guys are going to fall asleep and then nobody's going to care. Which I'm into. That's cool. I get this question a lot, actually. Do you have UV filtration over your lighting in the platinum palladium room? Some people, some platinum printers do special lighting in their rooms so that they don't fog their paper. I have CFLs, compact fluorescents, in that room that are really warm, and I've never managed to fog an image in there, no matter how long I leave a coated piece of paper out in the light. So I don't think that the amount of UV that I'm getting from those fluorescents is sufficient to matter. Even when I'm doing the big ones and they're up high, like closer to the lights, doesn't seem to matter. That's been my experience. If I was in a room with daylight, that would be different. You know, you don't want daylight. You don't want any like really bright like halogen bulbs or anything that could put off reasonable amounts of UV. You don't even want them like really close to a lot of fluorescent light. But I don't have to worry about that. I've never experienced any base fog from that. The problem I end up having is I forget about the paper and it dries too long and it loses sensitivity as it dries, and then you have to start over or at least re-moisten the paper. So some people like to do fancy no UV lighting and I don't worry about it. Ooh, okay, we're getting nerdy again. If you guys get bored and fall asleep, just let me know. A month ago, I put out the last old news. Jesus, it's been a long time. AO has some questions. How do you know how much emulsion to use on a given size paper? I use math. Science rules. I know that I need a certain amount of chemistry for an 8x10 sheet, and I know how many square inches are on an 8x10 sheet, and then I can extrapolate how many milliliters I need per however many square inches, and we math from there. For instance, on an 8x10 sheet, if I'm feeling stingy, I'll use about a milliliter of each solution for a total of 2 milliliters for 80 square inches. And then you just go from there. The more humid your environment is, the more you can get away with. And if you're brush coating, if you have just the right amount of humidity in your brush and your paper, you actually get a much easier coat. So, yeah, there is math. Does the temperature of the emulsion matter? My emulsion is always room temperature, somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees, and I haven't found that it matters a whole lot. There are some people who get their room to the exact temperature and humidity and it's held constant. I haven't found that the swing here matters that much. So either our building, or my room at least, is consistent enough that it doesn't matter, or it just doesn't matter. The temperature of the developer in platinum palladium matters a lot. Room temperature, like 60, 70 degrees, somewhere in there, is going to be a pretty neutral print. And then the warmer the developer gets, the warmer your print will get. This is obviously for developing out. For the printout method, all things are different. But for developing out, like we are using a developer that's not water, I found that like 140, 150 degrees will give you a very warm, slightly lower contrast image. And room temperature will give you less warm, a little bit more contrast, and there's gradations in between. How do you know it's time to change the developer? You don't change the developer. It goes forever, which is awesome. I'll add a little fresh. If you leave a developer long enough, you'll get to warmer and lower contrast images over time. But like there are platinum printers out there who've been using the same developer for 10 plus years. You just top it off a little bit when it gets low, and make sure that the concentrations are right, and you're fine. So you don't have to worry about that when you're developing platinum. It just goes forever. How do you know your exposure time with the UV box? Did you make a bunch of test prints? I try not to make very many test prints when I'm doing platinum because it's expensive. If I'm using a digital negative, I'm calibrated. I know what it is because I've built the entire system around choosing a time. So I do a min-max, and there's a video we talk about calibrating prints. The same principles apply for silver gelatin and platinum palladium. You do a min-max, you figure out where your black is, and you build the entire process to produce the right contrast negative, to produce the exact right print at exactly that time. For proper film negatives, it's a little more tricky. And as you can see in all of the videos I've done where I'm printing platinum in the lab, I struggle a lot more when I'm using like an 8x10 negative. Sometimes I can eyeball it and get it right, and sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 tries, but they're only 8x10, so it's not so bad. 16x20 is a lot harder. And sometimes on 16x20, I'll go ahead and just take a strip of paper that's like 20 inches long and run it right through the middle of the negative and do a test print that way. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes rather than seconds in silver gelatin. But sometimes you can just eyeball it and be like, okay, I know what contrast my digital negatives look like. I know what contrast on this negative looks like. Let's try and just go for this time. And sometimes it works. Sweet. That seems like most of the questions I've seen in a while. If you have questions for me, drop them in the comments section down below or our Discord server, and check them out. Guess we'll see you in the next one.